This is a good weekly challenge to answer some questions from a data set and stick them all together. So we've got some athletes here, we've got some countries. We need to use the code here to join on the country name rather than having the nationality code here. I used a find and replace tool, just replaced that code with the country field there. I thought that would just be the easiest way to do it. You could, of course, have done a join tool as well. Up to you. So first of all, we want to find out the sport that has the most athletes in each country. So we group by our nationality, our sport, and we count distinct the IDs in our data. So that lets us know for each sport how many athletes do we have. Then we find out for each country what's the maximum number of athletes, and we can join that back on to our previous tool there to get the sport that has the most athletes. But you'll notice for countries like Albania, they have 3 that are tied for having the most athletes. So we'll use a sample tool to just take the first one in each of these cases. So we get our 199 records back, which is what we're aiming for. Okay, so then for our total number of athletes, let's ignore these steps for now, because these are dealing with the average age. So in our summarize tool, we are just going to group by the nationality and count the distinct ID. That gives us our total athletes. And then we join these two together on the country name, and then we have our sport with most athletes and our total athletes fields. We'll come back to the average age. We're just going in order. Okay, now we need to know how many of each of those athletes are females, how many are males. So we do another summarize tool. It's a lot of summarizing in this challenge. So we're grouping on our country, grouping on our sex, and we're counting our distinct ID once again. And we're doing a cross tab to get to the country and the number of male and female athletes. So I thought it was really interesting actually. I didn't know this before, but you can't do a count distinct of a dimension at this stage. When you're using, say, a string field, in your values new columns, you only have the options of concatenating or first or last, and I didn't know that until today. So that's interesting. I had to do the summarize before the crosstab. And there are some nulls here. So for example, Bhutan doesn't have any male athletes. So I just use a data cleanse to make sure that those nulls get turned into zeros instead. And then again, we added another join so that we get our males and females there. And finally, we come to that average age. So we look at the date of birth field and we use a date time tool that's in the month, date, year structure. So we turn that into a date, and then we use a date time diff formula to go from the opening ceremony of the Olympics to their date of birth. So what's the difference in years between those? And we get our ages out. So that then in this summarize tool, we can just add in our average age, and that comes through in this join. So that is in our final data set. Okay, so hopefully that was useful, and thanks very much for watching.